Hey everyone, before we dive in, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories like this. I'm the narrator, and today I'll be walking you through a journey of love and change, of transitions and heart whispers, as we imagine what happened after Shen Yue said I do. From the moment the wedding bells echoed, and Shen Yue stepped into her new life, the world around her shifted. It wasn't just the white gown or the delicate bouquet, it was the invisible pivot of her identity. She had always been an actor, a star, a woman of the screen, but now a wife. And with that new title came both expectation and quiet transformation. As the guests departed and the grand hall emptied, Shen Yue found herself alone for a moment on the balcony, cool night air brushing her cheeks. She held the hand of Dylan Wang, a man whose life until now had been defined by momentum, the cameras, the roles, the spotlight. He looked at her, his eyes steady in a way she hadn't quite seen before. And then he said something soft, "I'll walk this road with you." That sentence became the promise. Over the next days, Dylan did something subtle but profound. He slowed. He slowed the pacing of his career for the first time in years. Where once he leapt from one project to the next, now he paused to stand beside his wife, to learn her rhythms and to listen to the quiet hum of their shared mornings. For Shen Yue, this was startling. In her world, everything had always moved fast, scripts arrived, makeup chairs waited, red carpets shone bright. But now, in the gentle hush of early dawn, she heard Dylan's footsteps approaching and turned to find him holding 2 cups of coffee. Not for show. Not for promotion. Just 2 mugs, steam rising, offering them a moment of peace before the world awakened. Together they walked to the little garden behind their home, where white petals had fallen from a cherry tree, and sat on the bench beneath it. Dylan reached over, tucked a stray hair behind her ear, and said, "Tell me about your day." He didn't ask as an actor asking an interview question. He asked as a husband, curious and tender. She told him about her script meeting. She told him about the way a scene had made her realize she was longing for something different, not just winning the next award, but finding the next moment of truth in her own life. Dylan listened. He didn't reply immediately. He just held her hand until she finished. And then he said, "Let's make time for the truth between roles." And so the togetherness began. Dylan emerged from his usual whirlwind and asked, "What if we make one project together? Not for the press, not for the charts, but for us. A small short film, a weekend shoot, a story about 2 people growing together." He wanted to show her world, and she wanted to share his. They wrote it in evenings, jotted ideas on napkins, turned their home's living room into a storyboard. In that creative space, Shen Yue showed a new side of herself. The behind-the-scenes woman who loved messy notes, the late-night editing, the laughter when things didn't go perfectly. And Dylan found his role, not the unshakable lead, but the companion who could step back, listen, support. Their partnership shifted, no longer just co-stars in a scripted romance, but architects of a lived one. As word got out, through industry whispers, casual posts on social media, they were praised. But more than the praise, it was the change that mattered to them. Dylan started showing up to fewer premieres and more mornings. Shen Yue took fewer appearance calls and more quiet weekend breakfasts. The public saw the red carpet photos, but behind the camera were the mundane, the everyday, the real. And then came the moment that changed everything, a surprise film festival invite. The short film they made, simple and raw, landed a screening at a smaller independent festival. They walked the step and repeat together, arm in arm, but the applause that night felt different. It wasn't the roar of thousands, it was the soft clapping of people moved by authenticity. And they looked at each other and smiled, because they knew, this was real. Back at home, after the screening, they sat around the kitchen table with takeout burger boxes and a bottle of something fizzy. Dylan raised his glass and said, "Thank you. For being me when I didn't know how." And Shen Yue looked at him and replied, "Thank you. For trusting me when I didn't know what to trust." In that moment, the cameras didn't matter. The roles didn't matter. It was just them. Weeks later, Dylan surprised her with a ticket. A simple envelope. "Come with me," he said. She opened it and found a one-way flight to a quiet coastal town. He whispered, "No schedule. No script. Just you and me." They took early morning walks by the ocean, shared stories they hadn't told even their closest friends. They built sandcastles at dawn, watched seagulls cry into the wind, and simply existed side by side. During that trip, Shen Yue realized something profound. Marriage didn't mean the end of who she was, it meant the beginning of who she could become. And Dylan realized, love isn't just when you hold someone at their peak, it's when you hold them when they're still discovering themselves. Returning home, they found a rhythm. Dylan would drop Shen Yue off at her drama set in the morning, wait in the car, and greet her with the same coffee ritual when she emerged. She would join him at his gym, cheering after his workout, then pull out her sketchbook and draw the scene on a napkin, two silhouettes, one beside the other, facing the sunset. Their home filled with small traditions: Friday pizza nights on the living room floor, midday power naps together, and Sunday walks with no agenda but the horizon. Friends and colleagues commented on the shift. "You two look happier," they'd say. And it wasn't a greener carpet or a louder headline, it was a stillness in their smiles. And then one ordinary afternoon, Shen Yue got a text from Dylan, "Look outside." She stepped into their balcony and saw, he had planted a sapling, a small tree, right where they first sat after the wedding. He held a shovel, his cheeks slightly red from the effort, and said, "We'll watch it grow, together." She laughed, wrapped her arms around him, and whispered, "I love what you did." In that moment, she realized, what he did wasn't grandiose. It wasn't a flood of declarations or a spectacle for social media. What he did was show up. Every day. With consistency. With kindness. With love that whispered instead of shouting. Because after the marriage, that's what mattered most. And as their story continues, because of course it does, we imagine them years from now. Perhaps the tree is taller, perhaps their home echoes with a child's laughter or a pet's footsteps. Perhaps they still make small films together. Perhaps Dylan still drives through quiet mornings to make coffee for his wife. Perhaps Shen Yue still leans her head on his shoulder while they watch the credits roll on a film they made together. Because the real highlight of this story isn't the wedding. It's the after. The days when the vows fade out of view and the living begins. The after, when what truly matters is the ordinary, the everyday, the moments no one sees but both feel. The after, when love becomes life. So if you're still here, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this little journey, please like, subscribe, share with a friend who loves love stories, and leave a comment. What small thing would you want someone to do after your big day? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, may your every after be better than the before.